And a good new week to all our SC fans. This is Strange World. Welcome back to our episode. Was this what, four, five? Episode five now, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe to
Yep,
five.
yep, yep.
Not too bad, gentlemen. We survived five episodes. Well,
Yeah.
midway through one season. I hope you guys enjoyed this as well. And leave us your comment in the comment field below. Let us know what you're thinking. Join us in the discussion because so far we have been covering the scientific side of trying to give you an explanation of how some of these hauntings that you hear in our confessions actually is more than just a figment of our imagination. So last time we explored how energy interacts with the supernatural, how hauntings, spirits, and paranormal encounters might actually follow scientific laws. But we stop at a very critical point here. Because if energy follows predictable laws, then what about information? What explains why some ideas, symbols, and even supernatural entities seem to gain power over time? Why do some rituals seem to carry power across generations? That brings us to tonight's deep dive. Infodynamics, the hidden law that governs how information organizes itself, evolves, and possibly transcend death itself. And last week we talked about AI a little bit, and I want to just bring back the emphasis right here again. If infodynamic explains how intelligence refines itself, what happens when AI starts applying these same principles? Does that mean AI is already on its way of becoming self-aware? And if so, who or what set the process in motion? Think about the Pontianak, a spirit that grows stronger the more it's feared. Some say its power intensifies because people keep talking about it, keep believing in it. That's a form of infodynamics at play, where belief, emotion, and repetition actually reinforce its existence. The question is, does this apply to more than just spirits? Does reality itself follow this same rule? Join us on today's episode of Strange World.
I really don't feel good. We're getting a
Is anyone here? What did you find?
You are listening to Supernatural Confessions. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us this morning. Dr. Yong and Mary Mike.
Hello.
Hey, so what we thought
Morning.
was a heavy
Evening.
topic for people turns out to be a topic that they seem to enjoy based on the feedback that we've got.
Yeah, I really appreciate all the comments and the questions. To be honest, I'm still trying to figure out, right, how do we respond the best to them so that they feel heard? Because I think there were quite a number of questions that came out that I felt like, oh, actually these are very good opinions and point of views that we need to discuss. And then there's also 5 hours of infodynamics to cover.
Well, I've got an idea, Mary Mike. I think after every 5 episodes or so, we can have a dedicated standalone episode where we're not talking about the topics we want to talk about, but we look back at all the comments that people have placed. Let's screen capture them or let's highlight them. And
Yeah.
for that one episode standalone, we cover as much as we can. We don't even need to be in a 1 hour mark. Let's just
Yeah.
take care of the comments.
Sure. Yeah. I think let's do that. Yeah. So with that, right? We encourage as many comments as possible. I think if you have a question or you're inspired to mention certain things, because I know the topics that we talk about, they may be scientific, but we are also pushing into the application and the theories. So if you have a theory, whether it's weird, whether it's
Yeah.
silly, just bring it up because it's always good for discussion.
And Dr. Young said you had a bad morning. What happened?
Ah.
Or
yeah,
bad night, rather.
yeah, bad night. Yeah. Recovering from the fracture,
Mm.
and at night, there's just no right position for it to be in, and post op 11 days is still the same, and it's sore and it wakes me up in the middle of the night, and then after that, I try yoga nidra, I try different things. Sometimes it works, sometimes I just wake I just stay awake from 3 to 6 a.m.
Sheesh.
And yesterday was just one of those nights. Yeah, and just now you were talking about the comments on our River podcast. Because of what happened to me, I'm like I disappeared from social media for about 2 weeks now, and yeah, and I couldn't reply to those comments. But I think when I glanced through, they are well wishes. So thank you everyone for the well wishing. I disappeared and I did not comment on anything. And and Eugene, you mentioned like maybe every fifth episode we will have like answer the comments, and I think we also mentioned we will have a live session as well where the audience can join in. And also we talked about having guests on board.
Yes.
And I just confirmed one guest will be okay to come on with us.
Nice.
Possibly for the next episode. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, that's from me.
So maybe the fifth okay, sorry, this is the fifth episode. Maybe the post mid season episode, the sixth, right? The before the sixth, rather that the between the 5 and the 6. That Q&A can actually be a live session. What do you think? We answer the questions from the comment section and invite people to post fresh comments on the fly for us. So which means that 3 of us will probably have to find a communal time to do this again, which is very tough. But ladies and gentlemen, you're listening in, it's not easy to get Dr. Yong, Mary Mike, and myself, all 3 of us in one same place at the same time.
Yeah, we're all busy family men, you know.
Yeah. I mean, busy at work, busy at family, a lot of things. Well, speaking of that, before we get into today's topic of infodynamics, which I know will take quite a bit of time, let's talk about what we're busy with this week. Let's get it off chest.
Mike, you can go ahead first.
Me, yeah. Wow. Okay. So let me see. Actually, this week I'm quite free. No, last week so it's very funny because last week I was really busy, and then my in-laws, like superheroes, came and took away my daughter away, and then because of that, my weekend starting from Friday was a time of finally getting to do all the backlog that I've been wanting to do until I had to reformat my PC because of a hard disk issue, and then that took me back. But I managed to cover everything back by Sunday lah. So by the time we got to this episode, right, I managed to prepare the stuff, which is 5 hours worth of infodynamics. Yeah, and then this week, okay, actually have a lot of stuff, but cannot say. It's not spoiler.
Okay. Well, you enjoy your free week this week because next week is school holidays, Mike. So you probably be busy again.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay, over to you, Dr. Young. What kept you busy this week or last week?
For this week will be a post-op review with the surgeon, physiotherapy, more therapy. I postponed or backlog my workshops, and then now I have to work on it. And then that will consume quite a bit of time, and also communing again, connecting with the family after, because of how tired I was, exhausted I was. Sometimes I'm there, not there, and then now it's a phase of reconnection, and then stepping up again, stepping up to the roles that we have as family men. Yeah.
As family man. Oh my God, this show is like the Strange World Family Man edition. Look at us, long suffering husbands and fathers.
Hey man, no, we are the example, right? Of we have family, we also have ambition, and we are just balancing it.
That's true.
By the skin of our teeth.
Oh, okay. So
what about you, Eugene?
I think my side is a very. This year has been super fast. Like it's coming to mid. I still think I'm somewhere in January and February, but I realize it's really close to mid March. So that's how fast life has been for me this year. Supernatural Confessions has took on a new life of its own. I've grown a team. The team is I'll be making announcements about the team soon. There's a festival coming up in June. Websites being placed. New and crazy ideas coming up. So everything is in place. And also the other thing is the spiritual growth for my side personally as well. That's something that have been moving at a very breakneck speed. So I won't talk about this on air because that's going to take a long time. But I may discuss it with the patrons on Supernatural Confessions patron list. Okay, so that's it for us this week. That you get to know us a little bit better. So now moving on to Infodynamics, this week's topic, where information that is put out into the world tend to have a way of manifesting itself. Now, passing the proverbial mic over to Mary Mike to give us a bit more information about Infodynamics on the scientific side of things. Take away, Mike.
All right. So in a sense, I would say that information that we receive, and we're not talking about computer data or knowledge, but it's also stuff like memories. So I would say, have been taking them for granted. We always assume that what we forget is lost, and then what dies eventually just disappears off. And things that we write in books, they are just words and nothing more. But here's the argument. What if information behaves very similar to energy? And we talked about it in thermodynamics, where energy can never be destroyed. But in thermodynamics, we also know that energy eventually will dissipate into something else.
Yeah.
Now, infodynamics works very differently. Okay, it also never disappears, but it also sort of organizes itself. So here are some questions that the audience can kind of ponder as we go along here. Right now, what is supernatural? The supernatural rather isn't just ghosts and hauntings, but something deeper, whereby it is information that is structured to not fade. That means it's fighting against the laws of thermodynamics. That's how I would see it. Now, what if intelligence, consciousness, in the same way, right? And even the things that we fear, like the phobias that we have, they don't vanish, but actually, right, they evolve. Okay, so today, we are going to step into something that is even larger than the ghost stories that we talk about, or the supernatural that we understand. In infodynamics, it is a hidden law that might explain things like why spirits linger, which is what we were arguing in, I think, episode 2 or 3. Why things like rituals in a sense, like for example, the talismans that we draw on the yellow paper, the sigils that we draw, correct? All these intricate designs, correct? Why is it that these work? Because of the information that is embedded, encoded in them. And finally, also because we are pushing into the generation of AI, right? My AI also follow the same rules, and you might somehow realize through what we have to share today, the way AI operates is very much like the afterlife.
Wow.
But before all that, correct?
Yeah.
I got two questions to throw at Eugene and
Wow.
Dr. Young.
Okay.
Today's
Today's topic really piqued my interest already, because we are combining AI trying to mimic the laws of infodynamics, and thus, blurring that line between the afterlife and this. It's no longer something we can pretend it doesn't exist, because if it is science and if it is the law that can be replicated, then the two worlds are going to be as one.
Yeah, I mean, I always believe that science, although it's the study of natural laws, I think we've come to a point where we are catching up with the unexplained. I think at this point in this era, 2025, correct? We have definitely gone past the Newtonian, the Einstein era into this. We haven't found a similar genius to call it yet.
Okay.
But okay, so first question. Okay, now, do you think belief itself can reinforce reality?
Yes.
That enough people believe something, it will manifest.
Yes. 100%. 100%. That's for fact that I know, and I have tested that. I have experimented with that as well, on the power of manifestation. So I had two control groups. Two groups. One's a control group. The experiment was on a place it looks haunted. And I've shared this with Friday Night Live before, many, many years ago. The place looks haunted, dilapidated, the doors were like off its hinge. You walk into the place, immediately it gives you the vibe that this is where a haunted place, a ghost story would take place. That's how visual it was. But when I went in and with all my gadgets and everything, I couldn't detect a single anomaly. No EMF, no EVP, not a single dust orb, nothing, nada, right? Nothing at all. So I went back to the group and I said, okay, on first group, I told them there's absolutely nothing at all there. It's just a dirty old house. I went to investigate. There was nothing, right? Why don't you all go in and see whether you can find anything or not? That's group A. Group B, I told them, oh my God, the place is haunted as hell. There's the EVP, EMF, the doors were slamming. I could hear footsteps and disembodied voices. You guys got to go and check it out. Group A went in first and then came out saying, yeah, you're right. There was absolutely nothing. We didn't detect anything. They couldn't get anything on any devices. You're right. It's not even haunted. Group B went in. Lo and behold, for some reason, doors could move on its own. EMF spike. They heard disembodied voices. Caught orbs on camera. So that led me to believe that did the haunting only manifest itself because Group B totally bought into the haunting story and they walked in already believing the place was haunted, anticipating that the doors will slam, and because of their collective belief that the doors will slam, the door did move. Whereas compared to Group A, who went in already having that seed planted in their head that there's no ghost, there's nothing there, I challenge you to go and find it, they went in already skeptical. So nothing happened. And then you take that onto a larger stage. Religion, for example. You have millions of people out there believing in one thing. So even if that thing was not a reality before, because of that collective belief over thousands of years, now that becomes something real. Yeah, so that's why I feel power of manifestation is very, very strong.
Yeah. Wow. That is well, I don't know. This morning, I like very holy like that. As you talk, I started to remember Bible verse.
Ah,
Okay, also so interesting. Okay, and is also it's some validation. Okay, so I know there's a verse where it says, "Where two or more are gathered in my name, there am I with them." Now, based on what you just said, correct?
yeah.
Correct. The way this operates has a lot to do with the information that is gathered, especially with many people around, right? And it collects together to somehow force reality to manifest something. So I think one of the best examples of an entity manifesting would be Miss P, our kakak, who exists pretty much everywhere in Singapore, whether it's the same singular entity or there are more than one. Correct. Do you think that her existence, right, is the manifestation of a collective belief that eventually structures reality? Because we understand that Miss P, she exists not just in Malay folklore, but there is a version of her even among the Chinese. There is a version of her in just about different cultures, I would
Okay.
say.
Okay. I think that one takes a very different approach. With this one, we need to break into part one and part two. Does Pontianak exist? First of all, even before the belief happened. I believe so. I believe that there is an entity called the Pontianak. In fact, the lore, the mysticism books and all that have alluded to her existence pre-Islam days in the 13th century, 14th century. Even there's a town called Pontianak named after because the founder of Pontianak
Huh?
fought
Really?
against Pontianaks. That's their origin story. Okay, so it's not made up. So the entity Pontianak, I believe, existed in some shape and form over time. But because of her legend passed down through the generations, through the kampong stories, as a way to instill fear in children. Oh, you don't come back early, the Pontianak will catch you. Or man, if you commit infidelity, the Pontianak as a vengeful female spirit will come and hunt you. So there's always this Pontianak used as a fear instilled in people. So
I think Dr. Yong's mic is not on. I cannot hear him. He's been talking.
was it?
Yeah.
Oh, I couldn't hear. Mike,
Eh?
Young, your.
Microphone, I think it's muted. That poor guy. I didn't even see his mouth move. I thought.
Oh, I can't hear him at all. Doctor Young, maybe you refresh your browser. Or can he even hear
No,
us?
he's muted. I can see the
He's
microphone.
okay. Let me try to unmute him. Cut. Was he talking a long time?
Not a lot lah, but just now when you came
Okay,
in, he
okay,
tried to
okay.
chime in.
Okay, I'm glad you were able to catch that.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
yeah, wouldn't be nice.
Doctor Young. Yeah, okay, welcome back. I can hear you now.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, okay.
Sorry, you about to chime in on something. Go ahead.
Oh, just now you were saying that Pontiana is the what we tell so that the kids come back before 7, right? So
Mm.
it's like the in the US we have the boogeyman and this is the boogie girl.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah, go on, go on.
oh, I just that on infodynamics, and then we talk about whether these entities are a conjuration of our collective belief, and then in Jungian theory we have the collective unconscious, right, where all the percolating thoughts actually go up into this informative space, probably hidden in the ionosphere. That's a theory of the where the akashic records actually lie, and where our thoughts percolate over there, and the number of votes make this thought bubble bigger, and that is how it sort of percolates and then descends into reality. Yeah, I've heard of this sort of notion. Yeah, and
It's
back to
the
you.
first time I'm hearing it described in a very scientific way, Dr. Yong. What I believe as well is when I went for my trip, remember last time that I mentioned in the previous episode, the Ayahuasca trip, when I went up and I saw the lights, and I believe there was a war of the gods going on, and it very much reflect the kind of war that we have on Earth, war on information, where you have different news network with their own agendas, covering news in a very biased way, and depending on who listens to what and what is the more prominent belief and dominant belief, that then becomes the reality. Whether that is real or not, enough people believe in it, it becomes real. So the same way, the gods function as well. If today they have no more votes, no more believers, they cease to exist. Which is why among the gods, among the religious figureheads, there is this push and drive towards we are the more dominant, the loudest, go all out and make sure that everyone believes in our version of the God. That then becomes the truth.
Oh, yeah.
Mm,
Wow. Today we also breaking religion down.
I mean, when you talk about beliefs, it's very hard to not talk about religion. But we're not
Yeah,
talking
like,
about religion in a way where we're putting anyone down. But as a whole, I'm not talking about religion. All the religions as a whole has a certain modus operandi of, making sure that the congregation comes in together and worships together. Otherwise, without that, the belief seems to not be as strong in the fabric.
yeah. But I think there is definitely some strong truth behind it, in a sense that as we go through even for myself, as we go through all these different episodes, and there are many things that we learn. Correct, it starts to kind of uh, break apart the idea of reality being just a set of laws, because there are many laws that are also not discovered yet. I don't know when infodynamics even became a thing, I'm pretty sure not during the 80s or the 90s lah. Okay, so now with all these, with all these discussions that we have already planted into the to our listeners, all right. Now, just a quick trivia, or rather, just a quick study on what infodynamics is. Okay, so it is a study of how information behaves over time, right? And similar to thermodynamics, it governs information. Where energy disperses, information refines, optimizes, and self organizes. So I know everyone is in the computer age, and when they say information, we think it's data. No. The easiest way to explain this would be when you are injured and you have a wound, correct? Your wound doesn't continue to decay, correct?
Yeah.
Your wound will heal because information in your DNA would tell the body to automatically fix itself.
Okay.
Just a matter of how fast. Okay. Now, this similar infodynamics also explains why certain knowledge, patterns, and memories don't just persist, but they evolve. They get better, they get cleaner, they get faster. Right? Now, because of this theory, infodynamics also suggests that structured information follows its own laws. And they are the ones that could govern everything from the intelligence that we have to consciousness and also to supernatural phenomena. And we talked a lot about that, in the first 15 minutes. So just to kind of hit home with the idea, correct? We can think about things like haunted objects, like the Komantong in Thai traditions or the Datuk Gong statues in Malaysia. The objects, they seem to retain power over time, and in some cases, they actually get more powerful or they gain more influence as people start to worship or feed them. And that and this mechanic seems to follow the laws of infodynamics in action, where the more you place the belief, the more you start doing things to increase the belief. So, like for example, I know the Kumanthong, you're supposed to feed feed it candy and drinks and toys, correct?
Yeah.
So the idea is that, is it actually the supernatural properties of the Kumanthong that is believed to have, or is it that because we put a lot of attention to it and therefore it starts to manifest itself in many ways?
Very.
Yeah. And this is the one that always, I think, puts people into a lot of arguments. Like, hey, is this real? Is this not? To the point where uh, we start to question ourselves, like, what the heck is going on? So, finally, if information follows its own set of rules, does that also mean that intelligence is destined to always refine itself indefinitely? And of course, these are unanswered questions, lah. Just throw it out to the audience, for comments, obviously. Now, and if so, if it refines itself all the time, is there ever going to be an end result of this process? Because you must remember the fact that today we are living in 2025 with all the technology that we have, correct? Is information and intelligence that has been refined over and over and over the years. Okay, so discussion points for Eugene and Dr. Yong. Do you think, that intelligence as human beings or as other different entities is designed or rather destined to keep on constantly evolving?
Yeah, as Mike mentioned that this is a 5 hour topic. So in between, before we go into the discussion topic, there's a lot of info bites and points of interest. And I'd like to say that what is it that is feeding infodynamics, right? And I love to think that it is our intention and the power of our intention. So okay, and just now when you talk that can belief shape reality, and then in the personal space, like in the individual space, right? What we believe in primes our reticular activating system to selectively pick up whatever we see, we listen, news articles. It's like if you are looking at, looking for an EV, and then you start seeing all the Xpeng, the Geelys, the Teslas on the road. And then this shows that self-fulfilling prophecy when it comes to, if you believe the world is a terrible place, you start picking out on all the information that solidifies your belief, and you start looking at the crime rate and everything, and you become very fearful. And the more you become that, you become paranoid. You start searching for more of those things. While if you believe that the world is a nice place, and then you start inviting the very nice people into your life. And that is personally, that is my belief. I believe the world is a nice place and people are kind. And all in my journeys of hitchhiking, gallivanting, everything, I've only met nice people. So that is at the individual level. Back into the intention. At the larger scale, right, and talking about infodynamics, I'd like to share this little thing. The power of group meditation. So there's this study done in the 1980s in the Lebanon War. So when there's a critical number, right? When there's more than 1,000 people in Jerusalem who did transcendental meditation on world peace, war deaths in Lebanon went down on those days that they conducted the group meditation, right? The war deaths dropped by 75%. Not only did war deaths go down, but crime and other destructive happenings also decreased in the days the group meditated. And they did this in the US at that time because I think 1980s, 90s is the rage was TM, right? So again, TM, during a period of group meditation, there were cumulative reductions in US national mortality rates from homicide, motor vehicle fatalities, and other accidental deaths. And there is a name for this. This term is called the Maharishi effect, where the influence of a group meditation on collective consciousness, the collective consciousness, talk about Carl Jung, okay, and it can affect societal trends. And then and this is what people on the spiritual believe, right? That when all of us, right, when we ascend our enlightenment, our consciousness level, every one of us, and we hit the critical mass, in that one was 1,000 people, but now the population is 8 billion, perhaps, I don't know, 500 million or 1 billion, then the resultant effect of the positivity, the love, the peace, the joy could actually create a reality of a more peaceful world. What do you think?
Why are we doing that? Why aren't we doing that? I mean, it sounds like an easy fix, right? Like, okay, if everyone believes in the good of everyone, the world will be a better place. I mean, like, count me in for that one vote, man. Like, isn't this the easiest thing to do?
Yeah.
But why isn't it happening?
Yeah.
There must be something to counter this effect. Like, someone is a shadow government holding the reins of the news, right?
The lizard people.
pumping out negative news to frighten everyone else, to remove us further away from the peace. Yeah.
Hold on. Talking about negative news, right? Okay. Apparently, I read somewhere in a psychology journal. Don't ask me why I do that.
You're a
read about it.
geek.
But I do. So apparently they have proven that negative thoughts do not get cancelled out by positive thoughts. Yeah. Which means, like, for example, you have a negative thought, right? You cannot use a positive thought to kind of counter it so that you feel better. So what happens, and I think the Chinese have figured this out. Okay. So in Western logic, right, correct, our brain, our mind is like a bookshelf. The more good books you put inside, the better the shelf is. But the Chinese see the mind or the mindscape as a garden. So in that garden, correct, you will have your good flowers, your good plants, and in that same garden, you also will have weeds. So weeds are the negative thoughts. So the idea is that, and that's why the Eastern people, I would say just Chinese, okay, the Eastern people, they tend to gravitate more towards meditation, because for them is to quieten the mind, remove this, and that's how they remove the negative thoughts instead of try to use a good thought to counter. So negativity and positivity are not polar opposites, but they are stuffing that fuels your mind. Which I think is
like
very
it.
aligned with what Dr. Yon is doing.
This is also aligned with the meditation philosophy that I learned from one of the Bantes at the temple that I went to. He was saying that the hate and happiness, the opposite of each other, because if you continue having hate and you try to find that happy space to counter the hate, it's the equivalent of, in the Western society, I need one medicine to counter this affliction, and I need another medicine to counter the side effects of this, and it never ends. And then again, back to your Eastern way of doing things, where you take the Chinese medicine because you are having this symptom because you need to withdraw or something, so you work on the core of it. So if you don't drink cold water or you don't do certain things, your body will be at a stable line. So
Yeah.
I think this is very much what you just said, and it does that wisdom does translate very effectively to the spiritual practices, and many spiritual masters who are dealing with enlightenment, ascension, higher order thinking do subscribe to this.
Yeah.
I-
Yeah. You can read lah. There's this book, very popular one for TCM, called The Yellow Emperor's Classic of Medicine. Yeah, that's the
That's right up Dr. Young's alley again. He's been studying all this.
Just for the record, to heal from this fracture, I people have given me life wave patches. I'm using them. I'm taking TCM because to qi, because the idea is when you open your body, your chi or your prana or your ki leaks out through that area. So I'm taking some Chinese also that I'm doing manual lymphatic drainage, which is kind of Western, and I believe in integrative and holistic care, right? So this incident has put me on again the guinea pig to try on everything so that I can better advise people. That's one. And thank you, Mike. When you brought up the positivity, negativity, and also the weeds, right? And it goes back to again when Eugene you mentioned, right? Why is why are we not there yet in the conscious level, and why is the world like that? Um, so I will link up what Mike said and what Eugene said in the sense that why is there so much strife in the world? Why is there so much pain, hatred, or whatever? One is because a lot of us we have the inner demons that have not been calmed, the weeds that have not been taken away, and whatever we judge within ourselves, right, that we cannot tahan inside ourselves, we project it into the world, and when we see that in other people, right, we get triggered, and when that happens, it's like we are unhappy with a lot of things happening in the world, and we put out that anger, that frustration, that hate. But a lot of it comes internally because of our traumas, our emotional stuff that we have not cleaned, and then we become very easily triggered and we react to situation, and this perpetrates. And then the first driver that honks in the traffic light, then the second person gets triggered, and then suddenly the whole street is honking away, and this is how it perpetrates. And the other thing that I wanted to talk about is that thank you, Mike, for bringing out what I talk about in my workshops. Is that a lot of people try to manifest, right? And then they talk about you need positive affirmations, you need to be positive and everything. And I say it doesn't work. Why it doesn't work? Because you are trying to you have a big gash, you have a broken arm, and you try to put a plaster on it. It doesn't work because this positive affirmation is very small thing. When inside of you hold, remember the last episode we talked about the David Hawkins, the energy level, right? When you carry shame, guilt, anger, and everything, that one is just like putting a cup of salt into a freshwater lake and hoping that it will turn salty. So we do have to work on ourselves, on the inner beings, and then you can clear out those weeds by working on your limiting mindsets, on your emotional traumas, your baggages. Then slowly you raise your vibration, you become more positive, and you attract the what you want to see in the world. Yeah.
This sounds like a
Wow.
workshop. Any details on that?
Yeah, I do have one at the end of the
Where's the
month.
next
Yeah.
one before the next Chinese New Year draw?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Eugene, for asking. I'll be running one workshop on the secrets to raising your energy and your vibration at end of March, 24th to 28th of March. Yeah.
Okay.
More details I'll put in the comments if you'd like to know more.
So, Strange World listeners, if you are thinking of taking your first step towards having that positive vibration, then perhaps all of us should take part in this workshop. Slowly, bit by bit, one mind at a time, till we hit 500 million to
Yeah.
make a real change
Yeah.
in this world.
Yeah. Let's put that number into the air and make it reality.
Actually, it's not that hard, lah. I know that churches are doing that in their own way, where they pray for
Yes.
the government and all that.
Mm.
Yeah, lah. So I don't know. Maybe one day, lah. Eugene, we start.
I start a cult of Eugene today, is it?
Yeah.
As part of the.
SC has now 130,000 subscribers, right?
Yeah.
What if we could do a group meditation of this number of people?
I would like that. Yeah. You know what?
Yeah.
I think we will let at the end of this season 12, episode 12, right? Let's try to find a way to turn that into a reality. So audience online or something can all tune in at just the right time, and then we all meditate positive energy into the world. Just
Love that.
Dr. Ye have to lead in the process, lah.
yeah, you do a
Most
live stream.
honored too.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Things are just happening for us right now.
We're just planning as we go along.
Okay.
All right. So
Um,
to deep dive back into infodynamics, I think one of my favorite parts of the infodynamics is that the idea that symbols and memories, they don't just keep happening Correct. But apparently symbols and rituals they do evolve over time. So that's the theory. I don't know whether Eugene might have some thoughts on this, whereby could infodynamics explain why rituals or practices seem to retain their power across generations? And has there been any change in the way things are being done over the years?
Uh, I think we are not talking about infodynamics anymore at this stage. With regards to rituals and symbols, um, yes, to answer the quick question, yes, they have evolved over time. How rituals are being done, there are new practices, new belief, new change in energy in the world, and therefore the rituals and practices have to evolve with the universal change. I see rituals in a very different light. Um, because this week alone, in the last 2 weeks, I have gone through a couple of rituals myself, um, inducted into certain practices, and given the key to unlock that lineage knowledge. So it would seem that I suppose you can call it infodynamics in the sense that this knowledge are stored somewhere in the ether. And when you are taught the certain mudras, the certain yantra and the mantra, then combining it together with the initiation, you can tap onto this knowledge. Whereas prior to that, even if you had some of this ingredient, you're not able to unlock it. So I feel there is not this ritualistic knowledge isn't just floating out in the ether for public domain. These are consolidated uh, cache that you can tap onto. And
Okay.
does infodynamics explain that? Maybe it does, but I think there's something more at work uh, than just, let's say, for example, what we mentioned just now on Akashic records, where collective belief changes certain things. There's certain knowledge that is immune or apart away from that collective belief. For example, you have ancient traditions that are forgotten and not practiced in today's day and age. But yet, if the right disciples come in, having the right initiation, knowing the right mantra and the mudra, is still able to tap on those forgotten law. So maybe there is the public domain and the private domain information.
Patron.
Yeah,
Patron content.
behind a paywall, you know.
Yeah, behind the paywall. I was smiling away because when
Then you froze.
my what
Okay.
I
Oh,
conjure in my mind is Avatar Aang. Avatar Aang, and then by tapping into his past lives, he could bring out techniques that he haven't learned, connecting to the spirit world, and that is a selective information that he could tap into when he tapped into his past reincarnations, the knowledge, and I just love that image that came out in my mind.
I
Yeah.
was I think many of you may know that I was given a crease last year. The Malay crease, the dragon
Mm.
crease. Long story short, it was calling out to me. The crease keeper, his name is Idris. He passed it to me. Said, I don't know why. I just want you to have it. The crease says it should go to you. I took it. I have no idea what to do with it. I tried to connect. I tried to meditate with it, but again, I didn't have the password to unlock anything. So it was just a ornamentive item on my shelf. Then later on, I met someone who was able to unlock it. One thing led to another. Long story short is it contains DNA or info of my past life when I was using the Chris. So in this life, when
whoa.
after the initiation and unlocking, I just downloaded information that I did not have prior,
Oh.
and in the words of Neo, I know kung fu. So much like that. And while all that may be a figment of my imagination, and people will say, "Hey, Eugene, because it was suggested, and therefore you think that way." I totally agree. That was how I felt as well, until I met a second shaman who I met before that ritual, and now I met him after that ritual, and he goes like, "Something's super different about you, and your energy has just gone up 70%, which I thought was going to be, when I looked at you 2 weeks ago, it was supposed to be 70% in 3 years. You did 70% in 2 weeks. What happened?" And then I showed him the photos and videos that I taken. Because sometimes photographs and videos captures energy patterns, and he goes like, that explains why. So again, two unrelated shamans corroborated on certain things, and the effects manifested that they can see, and obviously I can't. The only thing I manifested for myself is I then now downloaded some information of my past of how to perform certain rituals. Yeah.
Oh,
When
nice.
Neo learns kung fu, it's like he puts a chip right into the thing and then he downloads the information. Now Eugene holds the crease and then like He-Man, I have
I
the
the
power.
power. Yeah.
And talking about the Akashic records, right?
Yeah.
And then the idea that this Akashic records is a library
Mm.
housing all the infodynamics, and then people like Edgar Cayce, right?
Mm.
And then he goes and he could read the Akashic records of people,
Mm.
even though he's not in physical communion. And this idea of Akashic records, how to say, intrigues me. And in one of my spiritual mentees, right? So he is I would say he also ascended very 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 fast on the spiritual ladder. And then during I think last year we were talking about the Akashic records, and then said okay, in the guided meditation I'm going to bring you to the Akashic library. But instead of him going to the library, he saw his mental image that suddenly his left hand felt heavy
Yeah.
because a book dropped into his hand. And then when he opened the book, it's something like hieroglyphs or something like the Mayan characters that he cannot read, but it's there. So there is something to be downloaded, but you need to have the password. You need to be able to read it. Yeah, so exactly like what you said, Eugene.
Like it was so funny. Like after downloading the thing, and I'm not big on mudra and all that. I have no idea. I mean, I've seen this in shows, but I myself never practiced the hand signs, right?
They gotta do the Naruto thing.
Yeah lah, kind of lah. But mine was like
Senen Goroshi.
mine's 2 levels or 3 levels, not the whole
Yeah.
Oh, no. But when I was going to the meditation and the chanting was happening, right, my entire body just I allow it to forego the flow, and I was into doing certain stances. My hands were doing this and this and this. That's not my personality, and that's not who I was. So I kind of figured there were new information moving in, and when I checked with the shaman, like, what does this mean? What does this mean? Then they could explain, like, oh, this is when you call upon the light. This is when the light has manifested. This is when you are channeling out. I was like, oh, no prior knowledge.
Yeah, I had the same experience like what Eugene explained. During my pineal gland activation, I was like, I was moving my hand in circles, doing hand signs, and I don't know what it meant. But subsequently, when I could like access my past lives, then I said, oh, I was a Taoist, I was a shaman. That's why all these things, it had meaning, but I need somebody to decipher it for me. But I had that knowledge, Avatar and the past life, there is that knowledge. I need password. Somebody tell me, what is the ID key, man?
Wow.
Wow.
At least y'all got that lah. Based on my personal experience and who I am right now, I feel like my previous life I was a nerd, lor.
You hold the Akashic record within you,
Yeah,
Mike.
you're the librarian of the Akashic records. You know,
I don't know, the guy in the corner reading books.
okay, Sandman. You know the guy. Was it Destiny? I think the tall dude with a cloak, with a book in hand that's shackled to his wrist. That's you, Mary Mike. That's your past life.
Wow, dude. Okay.
And Mike's question just now was like, does this infodynamics evolve, right? And
Yeah, like, does it
and,
optimize over the years?
The idea that the thought came to like ChatGPT and DeepSeek. It's like the optimized version, right?
Yeah.
And at this one probably you have something to say about DeepSeek versus ChatGPT. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I definitely have a lot to say. Okay, the way I understand it is that I think the day humans gave machines the ability of learning, like machine learning, correct? I think AI itself is very very fast to piece information together. Like I remember when I was young, like a very long time ago, and because I'm born in the year where we transit from digital to from analog to digital, correct? I understood that computers are great because they are very fast. You give it code, you give it a script, it executes it very fast. It makes it look like it's amazing. Fast forward to today, which is about what 40 years later. We are looking into computers being able to take information and then piece it together. But of course, it still doesn't have the ability to absorb new information. It only has the ability to receive from somewhere correct? And then from there, it is able to optimize on its own, which is very interesting that we are going to this because the next topic that I wanted to go into, correct, is about how reality on its own also stores information. So tying together like what Eugene has experienced with his past life, sorry, what that he downloaded from his past life, correct. There was actually one curveball that I had to that I wanted to talk about, which is epigenetics. So whether or not you know what epigenetics is, I'm pretty sure Dr. Yong would know what epigenetics is. So epigenetics, correct, is kind of the idea that the memories of your ancestors actually live within you. And these are not like just cultural lessons or family traditions. We're talking about actual biological instructions that are encoded into your DNA. So this is a sign of like how infodynamics works in the biological level. So, uh, sorry. Okay. So a good idea would be like, for example, allergic to nuts. Allergy to nut from within a person can be genetic because somewhere along your family tree, you know, some unfortunate ancestor choked on nuts and it created the biological marker that nuts are bad. Therefore, all the downline, correct, will just have to avoid nuts at any cost. So
The
that's
phobia
one way.
sort of became an allergy kind of idea, right?
Yes, correct. So the thing is that scientists have also found that trauma, environmental stress, and even learned behaviors can leave biological markers on genes, which means like let's say for example, if I'm a very high anxiety person, I fear just about everything in life, correct? I may pass that behavior down to my child.
Yeah, yeah. It's like
Yes.
schizophrenia has genetic links, and also anxiety in the family, how a parent responds.
Yeah.
Like in my mom's family, hi mom. So they have they have the grandma had an incident where she had a severe episode of sore throat when somehow rather the lizard's tail right broke when the lizard was on the ceiling and fell into her mouth and it accidentally swallowed
Oh,
it. She had a very bad reaction to it, like sore throat, very bad. And my mom had got 12 siblings, like 10 of them have a phobia towards lizards because of this. But hi mom.
Hey,
And then
okay, go
yeah,
on, go on. Quick question, right? Did the kids came out after the lizard incident or before? I just want to know whether it's past, like does it
yeah,
pre?
some of them were there witnessing the incident,
Yeah.
but then they developed a fear of lizards, right? And then when the siblings came out, I believe that when the sister is afraid of a lizard, you learn to inherit that fear also. Yeah. I like to cycle a little bit back, right? Talking about the evolution of the information. It just recalls to me about last time when we create our websites, right? We need to know HTML, we need to know JavaScript, and now we have Wix. We just plug and play, and
yeah.
the information becomes more and more simplified. And then it also brings the idea of iRobot, the sentience, Isaac Asimov, and then also sorry, a lot of things just went through. Just talking some of them, and also um yeah, give me 5 seconds. uh, yeah, and talking about the using the data, right? It's like how Tesla trains the FSD, the full self driving, right? Is that it every Tesla car has cameras on the car, and then now there's about 7 to 8 million Teslas on the road, and all the vehicles, right? From the camera is training the big data. So now you can drop a Tesla car. FSD, I think now is live in China. It can, using all the data is accumulated, right? It now has gains of sentience. It now knows how to turn itself, what to look out for when is a dangerous situation based on all the memory gathered over the past few years from that 7 million vehicles. And now it is developing its own sentience. Yeah.
I'm also wondering
Yeah.
if science and supernatural science is the modern version of the supernatural ritual. So last time I need to cast a spell to send a message over to someone telepathically over the globe, but somehow science managed to turn that ritual into the design that is embedded into a chip, and then
Yeah.
Interesting.
it's science is just magic replicated.
Mm.
Yes, I would say science. I mean, at the level that we are at right now, correct? It's more like science. So we know science is the study of natural occurrence around us. But we have turned that natural occurrence into things like visuals on the screen, into things like receiving reception data on a device. Correct.
Appearing as a graph,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
example.
and actually, the advancement of the human race is also kind of like uh, sorry, it kind of like validates the fact that infodynamics continues to optimize itself, gets better, gets smarter. People learn to manipulate the resources that they have.
Mm.
There may be a moment one day where perhaps somebody figured out exactly how to do that without a device, and because of his ability to do that, correct, through epigenetics, correct, his children and children's children will kind of innately also receive that power. That's
Mm.
how I understand it, lah. Because how do we see? So, like for example, we talk about third eye. We always understand when it comes to third eye, it's always either passed down from your auntie or passed down from your mom or your grandma or your great grandma, correct? And then eventually your next generation also may kind of have that as well.
Mm.
So,
Can I talk a little bit about epigenetics just now?
oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. The epigenetics is about, we all have genes, but then epigenetics is about the genes have switches, right? You can turn them on and off depending on your environmental triggers. You may have the diabetic gene, but then if you conduct a very healthy lifestyle, you can actually turn that gene off. And although you have that risk, it doesn't mean that it will manifest. So it's like, fate, right? Do you carry fate in your hands, or are you destined to play out some things, right? I believe that we have power over our destiny. That's one. And then talking about epigenetics, and then epigenetics being carrier of information, infodynamics. When we do our, like, let's say, genealogical or our lineage, right? When you try to trace our lineage, and then we have now the DNA test kits, and what they do is actually the mitochondria is passed from our maternal line, unbroken through the mitochondria, and that's how we trace our lineage through the DNA test. And also, um, our and I love these terms, right? Ancestors of the mind and ancestors of the spirit. What does that mean? Ancestors of the body, ancestors of the mind. Ancestors of the body is that our grandparents, our great grandparents, is there's a lineage there, and the ancestors of the mind is our incarnations, and we actually inherit genetic information. This one, but we also inherit spiritual or mental information if we could access the passcodes. And then come this generation here and now, we could utilize all this information, and then because it's a accumulated knowledge, right? And then we could transform it and make it better. And then how to look at this, right? Is everyone, all the listeners probably heard of Maslow hierarchy. Last time is about the physical, the shelter, the clothing. Once we have hit that, right, we go to the next level, belonging, and then the next level we talk about self-esteem, and then as human population evolves, right, and once we hit all those things, right, then we go into self-actualization. It's about creating things, making the world better, creating value for people around the world. And I think infodynamics, when you talk about it evolving, I think what we are doing right now is actually doing just that. Yeah.
yeah. No, I agree. I was going to actually mention in one of our conversations that we had is that as we are talking about stuff like this, I'm pretty sure we're not the only one who is trying to match the science and the esoterics, or the science and the paranormal. I think at this stage of planet Earth in general, this timeline, we are in that in the era of beginning to piece these together and to start to change the way we understand reality itself. But okay, let's say we move forward, correct? Do you think that with epigenetics and things going on, right? What about karma and the afterlife, right? Like, um, um, if we understand the concept of reincarnation, correct? Is it possible to piece that when a person reincarnates, he actually does reincarnate with his previous information? It's just that it is not unlocked. In the case of how Eugene is saying that he managed to unlock his lah,
Mm.
so to speak.
Yeah, I'll let Eugene speak first. I have some thoughts about that. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. The quick answer is I don't know how to answer you, Mary Mike. But here's me guessing. Okay, it's just an intelligent guess how I think
Right,
it
right.
works. If I were to borrow that concept of as above, so below, if what we experience on Earth is the same way that heaven also functions, then when we respawn, we drop some of our belongings somewhere else. Like, when we die, right, we drop our belonging and our. If I'm talking about Diablo here, so I'm now
Oh,
born with no weapons. I'm naked body. I have to walk back to my same spot and pick up all my items of the past. But along the way, as I'm walking from where I am towards my past body, I may have accumulated other weapons that may be potentially more powerful than what I had in my previous loot. Or I may actually respawn in. I don't want to be a fighter now. I want to be somebody else entirely.
A
And when I
mage.
go back to my body or my past life, it's like totally irrelevant to me because I'm not using the double-handed battle axe. So if I were to draw just that idea from computer games, then uh, the idea of us cycling back to reincarnation, if we are not taking the same path, then our previous path is useless to us. Or if we are taking that same similar path, then some of us may have the good fortune of going back to our past life and acquiring some information, but it's also not necessary because after I respawn, I may want to try something entirely different. Even though I'm the same fighter, I could get more things, different things. I can do something even better than before, something totally different. So yeah, that's how I think it works.
On this channel, on this podcast, I think because of how we talk about things, we are talking like reincarnation is a fact, right? But it may be just a belief
yeah,
that we
yeah.
share, fully
Oh,
agree.
we not we
And
we kind of like it's speedballing lah. We just
yeah,
like
yes.
point of views and that kind of thing. Yeah.
And what Eugene, right, you mentioned the double the respawn. So how the Dalai Lama is chosen is like the clairvoyants or the seers, they say that these 10 children are possibly the reincarnations, and then they will gather them in this space, and then there will be a selection 20 toys, and then and then they'll ask the kids to choose which one has resonance with them. And then there's only four, for example. This may be the full story, it may be partial of the story.
Okay.
There are four items, and then the true incarnation of Dalai Lama will pick exactly the 4 out of the 20 because his past life carried these objects. So, ooh.
Could there be a chance? Like, what's the chance of that happening? So probability, right?
Yeah, probability. And yeah, it's a selection process. How accurate it is, I guess, that is probably one selection criteria, and there are other levels of refinement. I believe that's what's going to happen. Yeah, yeah. And talking about beliefs, right? And then reincarnation is a belief. And then I don't know whether we have time to talk about, what happens after we die. Does our belief, govern and becomes reality of what we experience?
Oh,
I think that one can be another whole episode.
I mean, next episode is near death encounter, which talks about death. So I
Yeah.
think you can talk about death today. Then it's a
can
nice
actually
end off and
continue.
segue towards the next episode.
Yeah.
So wrap it up for
Okay.
us. Yeah.
So one of the things the reason why I asked Eugene this is simply because, right, the way we understand death, correct, is that like based on all the paranormal experiences that we have seen, we have read from people we have encountered, correct, there is an inkling that after death the information, the memories, the consciousness, because they don't get destroyed. They go somewhere. Maybe it uploads up to a specific cloud, you know, and from there, we have practices like, for example, praying to our ancestors, and some people do pray to the ancestors to ask for numbers, and things like that. So it it gives the idea that the memories, the consciousness is transferred somewhere. Enough belief, and the belief is big enough to the point where there are people who do still pray to the ancestors, and we see that a lot during the Hungry Ghost Festival as well. So um, these are kind of the ideas that I think I will post to the audience to kind of like comment based on what they know, based on what they understand, because I'm pretty sure that every culture has a different way of seeing things like this. Okay, now um final curveball before we move on, and this one is my favorite. I actually kept this so that
Can I drop
everyone
something
knows.
before the curveball?
Yeah, can.
Yeah. Yeah, I like how you mentioned the cloud, right? And then just now you mentioned about the Akashic records. But now
Right.
with the cloud, Azure, they have
Yeah.
data centers
Yeah.
which host the cloud, we carry the information. But in
Yeah.
this spiritual world, we have thermas. Thermas is a Tibetan idea where you can implant intentions and ideas and knowledge in certain places in an energy form. And when the right person comes along and goes to that place, he can receive the download. And this is like accessing a data center.
It's
Yeah.
like
Okay.
augmented
Wow.
reality. I play something there on AR, and if you come down with the right application, you can see what's message I left for you behind.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So
Exactly.
you see, I think science is catching up lah. One day
Yeah.
we're all
Yeah.
going to be
Yeah.
able to do this lah.
Yeah.
Without the fact that our brains we haven't unlocked 100% of our brain already kind of tells you that we have a lot to discover about ourselves even. Okay, so final curveball. All right. Now with with the fact that infodynamics works in this way, we can kind of get the idea that our world, our reality is very word based, is very information based as well. Correct. And if information doesn't just survive but refines itself as it keeps going, correct, is there something in the background that is doing the refining? Now, we assume reality is chaotic because of entropy and thermodynamics. That events happen randomly, but is that intelligence that perhaps emerged by chance? It's a consciousness that is a product of something that we still haven't figured out yet. Correct. And what if this particular intelligence, okay, is the one behind the laws of infodynamics? And just like how humans have control over machine learning and AI, correct? This particular larger intelligence at work is the one who is structuring information and allows the persistence of intelligence. Or is everything that we know, that we see, is just randomly so convenient happen to just come together in this way.
So Merrimack is trying
Okay.
to prove God existence.
Okay, not necessarily God. It could be anything. It can just be like
It could be
Gaia,
anything.
Mother
We can call it
Nature.
anything, but it works and sounds like God, so it can be anything.
Okay. So I will throw the evidence out there. Okay,
Okay.
because this is definitely good contention. I want people to prove to me that God doesn't exist, and that's fine also. Okay, so I will do the build up. Okay, so infodynamics suggests that information naturally organizes over time. Correct, and it governs intelligence, and it seems like intelligence only goes into one direction: greater awareness, more complexity, and self optimization. It gets better over time. If not, our technology, our ability to manipulate nature
Okay.
wouldn't be happening. All right. Now, if we take the example of AI also does not evolve chaotically, but it organizes itself. And the more or rather, the more I interact with AI, it gets better and better over time because it understands how I see things, it understands what I want. And okay, we take the example of Google AI, where it learned So Google's had this robot, and they loaded their own AI inside this robot, and this robot was able to teach itself how to stand and how to walk on its own, stable. So bringing it back to the biological level, correct? DNA itself also doesn't stay stagnant. As a matter of fact, we also understand that DNA, based on the trauma of our ancestors, can also optimize itself for survival and efficiency. That's why epigenetics comes in. Right? Now, there are some spiritual and supernatural beliefs that follow this structured evolution as well. So the thing is that infodynamics seems to behave too perfectly in a way that it constantly tries to there is this intentional move forward that it wants to be more efficient and more optimized. So would that mean that there is an architect in the background, like a guiding force, just deciding to set this path for infodynamics to occur in this particular manner? And and of course, this argument we will coin it as intelligent design, religious creation stories. But I want to end with this particular story that I once heard from. I forgot who the fella is lah. I have to go and figure out this guy. But here's what he said. Okay, now a baker can bake a cake, correct? And if you bring this cake into a room that is filled with scientists, engineer, and all the smartest people in the world, right? The engineer will tell you the mechanics and the physics of how the cake is and whether or not it's perfectly made. The scientist can tell you the molecular structure of this particular cake. And the physicist and the philosopher will tell you many things about what this cake is. And only the person who created this cake will understand the purpose of this cake. Yeah.
I'm thinking of the person who's going to eat the cake, but never mind.
And that's right. That's right. I mean, the person who's eating this cake is all the consumers. It's us who enjoy the things that has happened, right? But will we ever know the purpose or why is it that intelligent design is built in this particular way to have? Because okay, let's say for example there's a creator, right? Who could make the world extremely boring, by not allowing paranormal encounters to ever happen. And then you and I will be all out of this line of content that we are doing already.
Yeah, don't have
DJ,
answer.
okay?
Yeah. No, I'm still catching on the digestion. I'm still okay. Then it's that most people won't bother about the purpose. We just go through life. We eat the cake. The cake tastes good. Yum yum.
No, and that is true. There are many people. I mean, there are people who will be like that, and then there are people like us. We are looking to find, what is the purpose of all this that's happening. We are in our own ways. We are understanding that the secrets of the universe in our own capacity. Hoping one day a multi-billionaire will chance upon us and then drop, Eugene a message.
Yeah, I think Elon Musk lah. We got to send this clip to Elon Musk. Probably of anyone I know, I think he will probably want to
I
invest.
talk about Teslas.
Yeah.
Elon Musk.
Yeah, talk about PayPal.
Yeah.
Let's do more of that.
Tag him to this post.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The divine intelligence, source, the God, many different names. And perhaps here we can state, Mike, you just mentioned that you believe that God, and then you want people to disprove his existence. I also believe there's a divine intelligence at work. And I believe everyone has access to it. We have that seed of divinity within us. It's about awakening it, and then that's where we
Uh-oh.
best version of ourselves. Yeah. What about you, Chief?
I believe we all have that God particle in us. We all God, and I use the word God freely, not in a capital G kind of way. Just a word to represent that supreme being, higher consciousness sort of thing. And I think we're all part of that oneness. and our job is to head back towards source.
Fist bump.
Yeah. Lah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very interesting topic. I guess that's why we're all in this strange world discussion because, well, it is a discussion. It's not science. My opinion is not the be all and end all. My belief is just my belief, and I believe that I'm going to come back. I believe in the power of reincarnation, and I had a very interesting discussion about reincarnation with different esoteric practitioners, including this person who's into Bible school. He was teaching. There's a name for him?
Theology?
Theologian.
Theology,
Yeah.
yeah.
So a very interesting idea of reincarnations and what it means to different people. But for me, I see myself coming back. Like I've seen that happening because there is a purpose and a job to be done on this world that I need to see through more than one lifetime.
And with a charis and a double-handed broadaxe.
Yeah. Or like you live really long, like 300 years.
Yeah. Because now having unlocked that past life thing and I see what I've seen and I know, it's like, wow, there is so much. Like we always talk about life purpose, like we have find our purpose and everything, but it's a very different feeling when you know your life purpose rather than you figure out your life purpose along the way. You know what I mean? Again, it's very hard to explain, and I don't expect everyone to believe because even myself sitting down here, having just gone through that 2 weeks ago, the skeptic human mind on my side is just trying to find reasons to shoehorn inside my own experience as well. I know it's like Dr. Yong, when you go through your Egypt trip, it takes months after that. You're still digesting, unpacking.
Absolutely.
So I'm now at a stage of digesting and unpacking. I'm not even
Integration.
Yes.
Integration.
Yes.
Yeah. And talking about purpose, right? And I find some synchronicity. So last year in May, after I broke my own money blocks, right? Then during my meditation, I had this download 500 million in 20 years. And then previously, anything above 1 million, I would feel very icky. But when that number came, I felt very at peace. And then it's right. And what is this money for? It's to have a land trust, so that the money goes to sensitive areas in the world, Amazon, Borneo, everything. And during the topic today, right, when we talk about, the group meditation, and then somehow or other I mentioned 500 million people, right? So what if 500 million people, everyone donates
$1.
$1?
Wow.
Then that thing already happens, man. And then suddenly like, goosebumps now.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Okay,
Yeah.
so to get 500 million people donating $1, Supernatural Confessions YouTube got to hit 500 million subscribers.
Well, you start the the Kickstarter, GoFundMe.
Indiegogo, yeah.
We're
We want to
building
make
a temple of the universe.
Yeah,
A
we want to
dollar
make
per
the
person.
world a better place, and we can only do that if 500 million people
Donates
all come together.
$1.
Yeah,
Fuck
give
me,
us
man.
$1.
Let's start this shit,
then
man.
pray.
Let's start it.
Huh?
Someone's got to start it because if we talk about it, we don't start it, it's not going to get 500 million. Let's put it out there. Let's put the idea into execution and see what happens. At the very least, we have a year-end meditation retreat.
we like how many
We've asked for
subscribers we have?
500 million people to put in $1 each, and you have spoken. Today, we have 50 of you putting $1 in. Run a picnic at Fort Canning. That's what we'll do. Start somewhere.
Aiyo.
Yes, it's the somewhere.
Yeah.
A seed that will grow into a tree.
All right, folks. I'll see you next week for more of such strange world. And what do we have for us next week, Mike?
The near-death experience. I think that one is quite a lot to unpack because when I saw Dr. Yong's write-up, but the focus will be more on, I think, just kind of like discussing on perhaps the details and nuances. I'll definitely come up with something for that.
Okay.
So yeah.
Well, I did a topic on that with Dr. Yong a long time ago. I forgot the content of it, but I think we'll play it for you guys to see.
It's like Infodynamics will, optimize the experience.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you guys next week. My name is Eugene. There's Dr.
Bye-bye.
Yong and Mary Mike saying we'll see you guys on the other side. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Have a good week.
did you find?
You are listening to Supernatural Confessions.